message.
Assalamu alaikum, family. It's your brother again, Brother Landon X. This is Nation Town TV Live, Exposed. And we're going to talk about being on code. You've probably been hearing that lately. It's like a new little trendy word that people are talking about. But just like a lot of other things that have a positive context to it, this has a positive context if we allow it to. But unfortunately, I believe that like so many other things, it's been hijacked or hacked. But we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about what does it mean? What does it really mean to be on code? And has it already been hijacked? Let's talk about it.
I was told to deliver this message.
Welcome back, family. It's your brother Landon X. And we're going to get right into it. As I always so truthfully proclaim with every episode, we won't be on long. I promise you this time. I think so. I really think so. But first, let's just go ahead and start off in the proper fashion. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who appeared to us in the person of Master W. Fard Muhammad, to whom praises are due forever, plus 1,000 days as far as I'm concerned. I further bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. But let me be clear as the Holy Quran is when it proclaims and promises in Surah 16, Ayat 36, that certainly a messenger would be raised for every nation. It didn't say it with an asterisk. It didn't say it with the with quotation marks. It said certainly. That removes all doubt that a messenger would be raised for every nation, and for this nation, for our people, and for this time, and for this world, whether you like it or not. That is the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And the only way that I'm sitting here with any understanding of knowledge of Master Fard Muhammad or the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is because this beautiful brother right here, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, is our divine leader, teacher, and guide in our midst today. And the criterion, if you understand it in those three great names, I greet you in the words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language. That language tells us to always not only greet each other, but to pray for each other as we greet each other with the words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. Shout out to everybody chiming in, the Nation Town family. Keep in mind, family, hit us up with any of your questions or comments as we go forth. And what we're talking about today is being on code. Let me know, have you heard that term lately and you probably kind of half understand what it means? Is this some new trend? Is it like woke? Is it like all these other things that kind of pop up? Well, it is and it's not. It's actually, nothing new under the sun. So it has a pretty basic meaning and we're going to get right into it. But the issue is that just like the idea and the fact of Black Lives Matter, not the organization, but the fact that Black Lives Matter has been hijacked, the movements that have caught fire in this last, hectic 2020 year, like the George Floyd protests, Ahmaud Arbery protests and uprisings, they've been hijacked and hacked. And so we're going to talk about being on code, and it stems from, the recent issue with our brother Ice Cube, which we touched on the last episode. But in this episode, we're going to deal with that whole on code thing. Are we on code? Has it been hijacked? What does it actually mean? And how can we recoup it? How can we, again, use that idea of being on code for our advantage? But first, as we like to do on Nation Town TV Live, we like to have our Do For Self City of the Day brought to you by doforself.net. Please make sure you check in with doforself.net. It is a 100% free online learning annex with several different subjects as to how to do for self, how to break away from your day job, information about alternative currency, credit repair, as well as interviews with professionals of all walks of life. Make sure you check that out. But Do For Self City of the Day is essentially where we go into a particular city, not in real life, but I guess you could say virtually, and we just find a random black business to highlight and support. We're not being paid yet to do this, but we just do this just out of love for our people. And we always try to correlate it with recent topics or current events. We just got through talking about Ice Cube on the last episode, and as we all know, Ice Cube represents and NWA, which he comes from, represents city of Compton. So we're going to go to Compton this week with the Do For Self City of the Day. Many of you that are in LA or from LA or in Compton, you already know about the Billionaire Burger Boys. Hit them up at billionaireburgerboys.com. That's boys with a D. Boys with a Z, excuse me, just like Boys in the Hood. But they got some really good food. If you got a taste for a burger, whatever, man, or a chicken sandwich or a vegetarian sandwich, man, leave them devils alone, man. McDevils and Long John Killers and all them, and go holler at your boy holler at your brother in Compton. And it's actually right next door to Mosque number Mighty Muhammad Mosque number 54. That is our Compton Mosque. Definitely go and check them out. It is on 811 South Long Beach Boulevard, Compton, California. If you find yourself in the city of Compton, make sure you stop by and look for. And when you get there and you're about to buy whatever that is that he holding right there, that look like a lot right there. But when you go in there and order whatever you're gonna order, make sure you let them know that Nation Town sent you. If they say, what's Nation Town, feel free to explain that to them. but just let them know that Nation Town sent you. But now that we knocked out our Do for Self City of the day, let's get into this because I don't want to be on long, but I do want to be on strong, people, because this is something that we got to deal with. Assalamu alaikum to Sister Peggy Watson. Not only is she a diehard Nation Town viewer, she's also a supporter of NationTownStore.com. Make sure y'all hit that up, NationTownStore.com. And we're going to get right into this, as I mentioned before. Let's deal with code. Now, on code as slang, as a slang term, or as a, you know, a new moniker that you've been hearing, the easy definition is it just means being unified, being in line, you know, making sure that, you know, like in the streets, there's a street code. You know, they used to call it the G code, you know, but we got a B code. We got a black code that we have to follow. And we've always had that. And now it's become this kind of phrase that you hear coming from that black Twitter sphere. And I touched on black Twitter, you know, last episode. And I personally believe that black Twitter, that quasi community that's been bubbling out of black Twitter, I feel like that's been hacked and hijacked. And so what we're trying to do is a little preemptive strike, because I see it headed in that direction, and I hate the direction that we take in this whole on code thing. And hopefully we'll be able to at least slow down the hacking or the hijacking of it. But let's just deal with actual facts first and foremost when it comes to being on code. Let's deal with what the word code actually means. The word code simply means a system of words, letters, figures, or other symbols substituted for other words, letters, etc., especially for the purpose of secrecy. But I want you to pay attention. I definitely want you to pay attention to all of the actual definitions to this word, because there are a couple of them that really stand out. Let's go to this one. Number 3 says a systematic collection of laws or regulations, a set of conventions governing behavior or activity in a particular sphere. Remember, I talked about that Twitter sphere. A set of rules and standards adhered to by a society, class, or individual. So that's where we are with being on code. And one example of being on code that's kind of being thrown around is the idea of us standing together when we feel like we're being attacked. And that kind of bubbled to the surface recently when DJ Vlad took the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's words out of context. And it was 3 individuals in particular who were not registered members of the Nation of Islam that did a pretty good job of standing up to Vlad, even though they had been regulars on his show, and simply saying that they no longer messing with Vlad until or unless he, you know, completely disavows his mistake and apologizes directly to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the kind of thing that they tried to make our brother Nick Cannon do by simply having a certain guest or guests having our Western Regional Student Minister Abdul Malik Saeed on his show, brother Professor Griff, and they kind of made him, or attempted to make him, kiss the ring, so to speak. I'm not mad at them for even attempting that, because that's code. And we're going to talk about another version of code in a minute as well. But that's what code is for the most part. And we have to be on that kind of code if we want anything out of this society, instead of just picketing and you know, throwing organized hissy fits, breaking windows, setting cars on fire every now and then. That's not code. That's a hissy fit, you know. So, and another example, a very strong example of being on code that we have to be aware of, family, is what we see from the Jewish community. I got to give it to the Jewish community, the so-called Jewish community. Because when it comes to being on code, I mean, man, it's not too many that do it better. And it was exposed about 7 or 8 years ago when one of their ministers in their parliament, this lady right here, Shulamit Aloni, who was a former Israeli cabinet member and winner of the 2000 Israeli Prize, which is the equivalent in Israel of the Nobel Peace Prize or something of that nature, or the Medal of Honor. And she pointed out on a radio show quite clearly that anti-Semitism, or the claim or the charge of being anti-Semitic, it's a trick. She said we always use it to stifle legitimate criticism of Jews and Zionist Israel. I mean, she just called it like it was, and I respect her for that. She transitioned. She passed away not too long after that. And I got the feeling that it wasn't natural causes. But shout out to everybody chiming in. Hit us up with your questions and comments. Make sure you are sharing this message, man. Y'all blew my mind with the shares on the last episode. Keep that energy. Share it, like. Also gotta take a moment to give just a special shout out to all of the supporters of NationTownStore.com. I crunched the numbers yesterday, and it's official. The last 2 weeks of Nation Town Store has been the most successful 2 weeks since we've been doing it. We've been doing it about 3 years now. And Nation Town Store, the orders have been almost overwhelming. Almost. We can take a few more on the chin, but I just want to thank y'all for showing love to us. I pray that you enjoy the products, and I pray that you continue to support them. We are still giving out free samples of our consumable goods, such as the Eating Fresh products, as well as the pies. Just hit us up. Go to NationTownStore.com. Get your free samples. Also, don't forget that if you would like, you can always hit us up. You can always hit us up on Cash App, $ Nation Town. Show us some love in that area. But again, hit us with your questions and comments. I see you all, Brother Muslim Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum. We got Kathy Locke, Brother Muslim Muhammad, who was out of mosque number 54. All praises due to Allah. All praises due to Allah. But we're gonna deal with this cold thing, and we're gonna get right into it. What we just did was cover the Webster's Dictionary understanding of what cold means, but it actually plays right into that Webster's Dictionary. Let me bring up that last part of the definition again. A set of conventions governing behavior or activity in a particular sphere. Activity in a particular sphere. Governing meaning what you can and cannot do, or should and should not do. A set of rules or standards adhered to by society, class, or individual. And what really got me to thinking on this particular subject was, of course, we had a beautiful Day of Atonement weekend, and just remembering and reminiscing on the evolution and the movement, not the event, but the evolution of the Million Man March, the 25th year anniversary. And then the new issue of the Final Call this week goes further into that, reigniting the spirit of the Million Man March. Make sure you get that issue. You can also go to NationTownStore.com and get your subscription to the Final Call news. You can also go to digital or finalcalldigital.com for a digital copy. And the Million Man March plays right into this whole code thing, believe it or not. Because one question that we get in the Nation of Islam when it comes to the Million Man March, to those who I guess only I don't know, I guess they only watch BET, or they only on Black Twitter, or they got an attention span, a short attention span. They say, well, what did y'all do? What was it about? What was it about? We're going to get into that, because the easy answer is this, since we're talking about being on code. The Million Man March established the Black Code. It laid down the Black Code. Everything that's done in this world, there's a meeting that precedes it. Negative things, positive things, good and the bad. There's a meeting, that establishment, or a coding that takes place. Right now, I'm pretty sure that I know everybody that's watching this right now, you're watching it on some kind of computer. And most of you are watching it on a smartphone. Whatever you're watching it on is operating off of a code, a binary code that programs that computer. It allows it to do certain things when you touch certain buttons, when you swipe the screen a certain way. All of that is based off of code that was generated when a bunch of computer programmers first sat down and met at the same table. And then someone told them, hey, we want a phone that you don't have to dial actual buttons, but you can just touch the screen, and then apps will come up. You can make telephone calls. The phone will talk back to you. All of these things were established with a meeting first. Even you were made. Even you were produced after a meeting. Your mama and your daddy, they got together and they did what? They met. And we're going to leave it right there. And then after that meeting, something was produced. That's what the Million Man March was. Essentially, it was the establishment of the code. And we're going to get deeper into that, because the code that we had was not only just a speech or a lecture. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan gave us 2 sets of very important information that really is a blueprint for our salvation, if we understand. First of all, he gave us the 8 steps of atonement. That's a part of the code, because that's our biggest issue. We have not and will not just simply atone with one another. We have underlying issues within our community that's really the result of coding that took place 400 years ago through the Willie Lynch process. But we have to decode that. We have to hack into that and then do a decoding, if you will. And that's what the 8 steps of atonement was. But there was also the thing that came at the very end, which was the Million Man March pledge. And if it pleases Allah, I want to get right into that, because there's some heavy instructions in there, because we're groping in the darkness right now, as it says in the Holy Quran. The Holy Quran says that Allah found us groping in the darkness. And the sad part is about it is we're groping in the darkness and we don't have to. A light was given to us 60 plus years ago by way of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. A light was given to us 90 years ago by way of Master Fard Muhammad. And then he taught a man for 3 months or 3 years and 4 months and raised up a man named the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. This ain't about dogma. It ain't even about religion. This is just about facts. They've given us a blueprint. But the thing about a blueprint, you just can't sit there and look at it all day. You can't step over it. You can't crumble it up and throw it away somewhere. A blueprint has no value until somebody gets to work on that blueprint and makes it manifest. Now, I want to get into that pledge, because that pledge is timeless. And we need the substance of that pledge today more than ever. And in that pledge, you're going to find some things that touch on some of our biggest complaints today. And this pledge is essentially the code. It ain't just a pledge. It ain't just a promise. This is the real code. So let's get into the Million Man March pledge. Let me get this out the way real quick. As you can see, it says, I pledge that from this day forward, I will strive to love my brother as I love myself. That's a big one right there. Really, if we completed that one, that would be the end of the game right there. I, from this day forward, will strive to improve myself spiritually, morally, mentally, socially, politically, and economically for the benefit of myself, my family, and my people. And then it says, I pledge that I will strive to build businesses, build hospitals, build houses, build factories, and enter into international trade for the good of myself, my family, and my people. I pledge that from this day forward, I will never raise my hand with a knife or a gun to beat, cut, or shoot any member of my family or any human being except in self-defense. We aggress with those that aggress on us. However, we are never to be the aggressor. That ain't just a Muslim thing. That has to be black code. That must be black code. Moving along, I pledge from this day forward, I will never abuse my wife by striking her, disrespecting her, for she is the mother of my children and the producer of my future. I pledge that from this day forward, I will never engage in the abuse of children, little boys, or little girls for sexual gratification, for I will let them grow in peace to be strong men and women for the future of our people. I will never again use the B word to describe any female, but particularly my own black sister. And I'm going to come back to this one right here, but we're going to go forward. I pledge from this day forward that I will not poison my body with drugs or that which is destructive to my health and my well-being. And I pledge from this day forward that I will support black newspapers, black radio, black television. I will support black artists who clean up their acts to show respect for themselves and respect for their people and respect for the ears of the human family. I will do all of this, so help me God. It's a few of them that were left out, but for the sake of time, I wanted to point those out. But I want to go back to the ones that are dealing with our sisters, because another, I guess you could say, narrative that's very popular right now is this narrative, which is fact, that the black woman is and has been ever since we came on the shores of Jamestown, Virginia, on that slave ship Jesus in 1555, not 1619, but since 1555, the black woman has been the most disrespected and unprotected being really on this earth from that point forward. But it's been this, but the problem is the issue lately has been where that's been used as a jab at the black man. And there's a lot of truth to that. But it's been weaponized as a means of further dividing us. But I want to get into that because the Nation of Islam has been on the forefront of that entire issue for a long time. Let's go back to that. I pledge from this day forward, I will never abuse my wife by striking her, disrespecting her, for she is the mother of my children and the producer of my future. I will never again use the B word to describe any female, but particularly my own sister. Now, I don't know if you know this, but in the 90 years of the Nation of Islam, we have an annual convention called Savior's Day. And we are celebrating the coming of God in the person of Master Fard Muhammad. And you would have to go, you probably would not be able to find a Savior's Day, maybe one or two, but you'll have a hard time finding a Savior's Day where there was not a banner in that arena or that armory or that church or that mosque, wherever Savior's Day's crowning event was held. You will see two banners almost every year. One would say, "There is no God but Allah." That banner is always up there. in the days of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad when he was in our midst, and in this era with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. But then the second one, which I was very happy a couple of years ago to see that we are down to the modern times, because now it's not a banner. The last time we were in the United Center where the Chicago Bulls play for Savior's Day, it was an electronic digital banner that says we must respect and protect the black woman. Respect and protect the black woman. See, this is nothing new to the Nation of Islam. But we got to ask the question, sisters, are we on code with the Nation of Islam? Remember, I said the two banners you always see is that there is no God but Allah, and we must respect and protect the black woman. But check this out. In the Muslim program is what you will find at the back of every issue of the Final Call newspaper and its predecessor, Muhammad Speaks. In the back of that, point number 11 of what the Muslims believe, you're going to find something very interesting. Not only are you going to find what you're looking at right here, but look at the sequence. Point number 12 is in bold because it's dealing with the coming of God in the person of Master W. Fard Muhammad, the long-awaited Messiah of the Christians and the Mahdi of the Muslims. But pay attention. Before we get into how we believe when it comes to God, before we get into point number 12, which is the glue of the Nation of Islam, make no mistake, before we get into that, we first got to deal with how we feel about the black woman and what we believe about the black woman. Think on that for a second. The Nation of Islam puts the black woman in the respect and protection of her, not above God, but we make a point. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad made a point to deal with that first before getting into God. I don't believe that that's just a basic sequence or coincidence. Allah does not operate in coincidences, and neither does his messenger. But it says that we believe that our women should be respected and protected as the women of other nationalities are respected and protected. Now, why am I getting into this part? Because there's a particular block of our people right now that has been weaponized against us. And it's a certain type of so-called woke, conscious black woman. But then on the other side of them, there's a truly woke and truly conscious black woman that I see mounting a comeback, mounting a fight, because they see that quasi fake woke type sister with the dreadlocks and the dashiki, but you might catch her with a white boy. You'll catch her saying that straight black men are no different from the KKK. You'll catch us saying stuff like that, but it's real woke black women that are mounting a comeback. We actually posted a video on Nation Town TV that wasn't affiliated with Nation Town TV, but it was some sisters who had a little panel. I won't say a little panel, a hell of a panel that was fighting back against that narrative, because that's a code. That's a weaponized code that's been used against us, but in the name of so-called pro-blackness. So that's why it's important that we deal with code. Shout out to everybody chiming in. Make sure y'all share this message. We have Sister Valerie Muhammad, wa alaikum salam. Sister Tracy Muhammad, wa alaikum salam. Brother Kareem Lawson, absolutely. All praises due to Allah. Jerome Flex Blakely, wa alaikum salam. Dejo Granberry, yes sir. And Sister Tawan Muhammad. All praises due to Allah. Hit us up with questions and comments as you see fit. But the reason why that's so important is because we can't be weaponized against each other. Going back to that pledge, one of the first things just simply dealt with us, working well together. Now, most recently, we dealt with this Ice Cube situation. And I saw something that was very, very disturbing between now in the time that we did that episode. I would have touched on it on the previous episode had I seen it, when I seen it. But this is an example of on code being taken and abused and weaponized against us. There have been some talking heads in the black Twitter sphere or the black so-called media sphere. Not white people, not MSNBC, not CNN, not Fox News, not some white boy who ain't never been to the hood, don't give a damn about black people. No. It's been Negroes who would have you think that they're pro-black, have you think that they're conscious, have you think that they're woke, who are doing something so vile. I got to use that word, vile. And let me explain why. First, let me show you what. Let me just be clear. Ice Cube caught wind of people in this narrative from black people, not white people, not crackers, not devils, not Satan, but little dumb devils, little wannabe devils. Saying that Ice Cube, not going into the details of the contract with Black America, saying whether or not they like certain parts or not, which is what we did on the last episode of Nation. Not doing that, not actually going into what the brother put forth, himself, but saying that he's not qualified on a world stage, in front of everybody, in front of the world, all over Twitter, all over Facebook, all over YouTube. And I hate to say his name, but I got to call it out. But he's not the only one. D.L. Hughley getting on his show and calling out Ice Cube, said he's not qualified to have an opinion and to take the time to write out a black agenda. He's not qualified to do that. And first of all, D.L. Hughley, you're literally a clown. No, seriously. You're a jester. You're a joker. You're a comedian. That's what comedians are. Comedian is a nice way of saying clown. You know, I have my favorite comedians. I love comedy. We need to be able to laugh. Levity is extremely important, and I thank Allah for all of our best comedians. But here you are. You did a career switch over the last 5 to 6 years, where you've basically turned from just comedy. I remember when D.L. Hughley, his whole shtick, his whole stand-up routine was just clowning people in the audience. Remember that on BET Comic View? That's all he did. He didn't really have jokes. He just looked around the audience and said, and just went, and I enjoyed it. It was hilarious. But now you have positioned yourself as some type of authority on black issues. Week after week, you got something to say about Republicans and Donald Trump, and you have that right. And I will never say, who is this clown or who is this court jester or who is this comedian trying to tell me what to think politically. Nobody's ever charged you with that. Nobody's ever said it, but you would do your brother like that? Your brother? Is it because he didn't put you in one of the Fridays or what? I mean, what's really going on, brother? See, we got to deal with these diseases in our heart, because here's the worst part. And I'm going to show you what Ice Cube's very respectful but hardcore response was. This was his response, Ice Cube. And you notice how he didn't use no names, you know, because first of all, it wouldn't have fit in the tweet. I think tweet has like a 150 character limit or something, because there's been so many black people saying that he's not qualified to care about his people. What kind of ignorant foolishness is that? But here's his response. He says, I hope all these people with podcasts and radio shows telling the world that I'm too unqualified and uneducated to talk about a document I created don't get asked to pull out their communications degree and show you they are qualified and educated enough to speak to you over airwaves. Man, I mean, you talk about a mic drop. Like I said on Facebook, man, that's the no Vaseline Ice Cube right there. That I mean, that's a no Vaseline. I actually read that with the no Vaseline beat in the back of my mind. Oh, listen, man. But I'm laughing to keep from screaming. Because this is something that dawned on me when I heard what not only D.L. Hughley and others had to say. And most of them were sisters. Just a fact. And what they were saying about Cube, and really the worst part about it, is that when you think about it, for 400 years, like I said, ever since we came on the shores of Jamestown, Virginia, on that slave ship Jesus, for 400 years we've had to deal with our enemy telling us that we're not good enough. We're not smart enough. Nigga, put that book down. You go out there and bale that hay. Tote that barge. That's all you good for. If I tell you to ride the horse and carriage, if I tell you to do some masonry work, that's all you good for. That's all you good for. You're not good for anything else. Stay in your place, nigga. We've been told that by our open enemy, by Satan, for over 400 years. And when you look at black history, it is littered. I mean, it is filled with black men and women who, to use boxing terminology, they punched above their weight. What college did Harriet Tubman go to that taught her, you know, the intricacies of geography and how to start a revolution and how to help people get from one place to another? Who taught her that? What degree did she have for that? What did Nat Turner have? What was his degree? What was his degree in chopping off heads and being a leader of men? What was Marcus Garvey's degree? What was the most honorable Elijah Muhammad's degree? They had degrees, but they earned it with blood, sweat, and tears of and from their people. But we have reached rock bottom. Once we get to the point where we are saying the same things to each other that we have to endure to this day from our enemy. It's a brother who went to a job interview today. I guarantee you, somewhere in America today, a brother or sister went into a job interview or put in an application and check back on it, and they said, "Oh, we're sorry. We're looking for someone with a little more education." "Oh, we're sorry. We're looking for someone with a little more experience." "Oh, we're sorry. We don't think this would be a good job for you, but you know, we have a maintenance position that's open." It's a brother that had to deal with that today, and we've been dealing with that for hundreds of years, and now we're telling each other that. We're telling each other that. I mean, let that sink in for a minute, because I'm gonna drop something on you in a moment that you may or may not have known. But it came to my mind, you know, Allah just dropped it on my head as I, you know, was going over our topic for today. But shout out to everybody chiming in. You know, just make sure you hit us up, share this message. And as I mentioned before, make sure, you know, if you have it on your heart, if you have it on your heart and in your pocket, make sure you show us some love on Cash App, $ Nation Town. We are 100% independent. And, you know, you never know when the enemy going to cut off the lights on us. So we need to be able to have our own platforms, which we do. Shout out to doforself.net. But we got a comment I want to touch on, because she actually mentioned a key word that I'm about to get into. And I want y'all to really pay attention. Really pay attention. Ina X Robinson says, "Wow, just think if he write another song on these coons. On these coons." I know, right, sis? I mean, he need to do No Vaseline too. He really do. I think it's already was a No Vaseline. He need to do a No Vaseline 2020, 2021, because it's the time. But you used the interesting word, sister Ina Robinson, Ina X. You said coons. There's an interesting word that comes from slavery that I want us to consider. And it has the word coon in it. There's a word that is tied to slave history. And that's a word I'm going to try to start using, slave history, not black history. That is black history, but it's such a small little dot on the trillions of years of real black history. So in slave history, there was something called, and please pay attention, there was something called a barracoon. A barracoon. Are y'all familiar with a barracoon? A barracoon is where enslaved Africans were confined in these barracoons for weeks or even months while awaiting transport across the Atlantic Ocean. So when they captured Kunta Kinte and all of our forefathers from the shores of West Africa, they didn't wait for a boat to be already docked. No, they would grab you and put you into these makeshift prisons, these cages called barracoons. Barracoons. Now, what's the significance of the barracoon? Because here's why people are mad at Ice Cube. Ice Cube is trying to break out of the barracoon. Because what we believe and what we always do, and not just when it comes to politics, but with everything, we act like we're in a cage. And when you're in a cage, I know somebody watching, I know brothers in the nation now and brothers I grew up with who have been in solitary confinement. And one of them, or in one of them 8x12. But when you're in a cage, here's your choices. You can be on one side of the room or the other side of the room. You can be on the north end of your 8x12. You can be on the south end. You can be on the west end or the east end of that room. You can be over there by the little toilet fixture, or you can be next to the bunk or next to the door. And if you're lucky, it'll have that little slot on it where you can look out. It's all blurry and see the rest of the cell block. But at the end of the day, you're still in a cage. And we're mad at Ice Cube because he simply threw something out in the middle of the cage, and it just happened to land firmly on the wrong side of a cage. So these barracoons, these coons, are mad because Ice Cube is trying to get us out of this barracoon. But we're just mad because of what side of the barracoon or what side of the cage that he's on. A barracoon. Let's actually look into the actual definition so y'all know I'm not just playing with you. A barracoon. An enclosure in which black slaves were confined for a limited period. Now they say limited. Like they was in there for 5 minutes. Listen, it took those slave ships 6 months to a year and a half to go back and forth from the shores of Africa. And keep in mind, there were more slaves that went into South America, not slaves, excuse me. There were more black kings, queens, warriors, doctors, sages, teachers who were captured and taken to South America, Brazil, Argentina, and whatnot. Then there were those who came to America. There was actually a very small line of slave ships that came to the continental United States. Most slave ships docked in the Caribbean and in South America. And it took them 6 months to a year and a half to take one trip. So they wasn't in there for no 5 minutes, no 3 minutes. They were in there sometimes for 6 months to a year, whenever the next ship showed up. That's how long they were in there. A barracoon. So that gives you a whole nother understanding of that word coon. Now, when I think of coon, I'm not even going to think of a raccoon. I'm going to think of that barracoon because we in this cage and we've come... We have this Stockholm syndrome where we've come into agreement with our captivity. So now we don't want to get out of the barracoon, get out of the cage. All we want to do is pick a side in that barracoon. We just want to pick a side. If we see somebody on the wrong side of that, we will scratch at them tooth and nail instead of putting our minds together with that brother or sister and find a way to get out of that barracoon. All praises are due to Allah. Shout out to everybody chiming in. You know, Brother Jerome Flex Blakely says Cube is showing us his love for us. He also said a lot of black people are brainwashed. You know, we ain't brainwashed, we brain dirty. We need a washing of our brain. But, you know, like I said, we stuck in this barracoon. And the thing about a cage, the worst part about a cage, is that you don't have access in and out, and it's somebody that puts you there. And that's essentially what politics is for black people. It's not ours. It's not for our benefit. That's why I don't have no resentment in my heart for Barack Obama. I really don't. He didn't run for the office of president of black people. He didn't. He ran for the office of CEO of the United States of America Corporation. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan warned us of that before the 2008 election. I believe it was Savior's Day 2008. He told us. Because that system is not made for us. That's like buying a Cadillac or buying a car and then get mad at the car because it didn't cook you dinner. Man, this car ain't made one plate of fish for me yet. And I'll spend $50,000 on it. It's a car. It's a point A to point B vehicle. Why are you expecting it to cook dinner for you? You got to know what you're getting into. This system is not for us. It is not for us. So that puts us in a barracoon. Now, what I'm going to get into now, dear family, and we're going to get up out of here after this. Again, make sure y'all share this. Get this message out of here. And we're going to close out with this. I was reading, you know, I try to stick my nose in a book every day, particularly a book pertaining to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And today I was reading a very profound book that was compiled by a brother in the Nation of Islam. His name is Demetric Muhammad. He's one of our research ministers. And prior to us having a Nation of Islam newspaper, or prior to the Muhammad Speaks newspaper, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote a column that was in the Pittsburgh Courier. He also wrote a column for New Amsterdam News called The Islamic World. But first he had a column in the Pittsburgh Courier, which is a black newspaper out of Pittsburgh, called Mr. Muhammad Speaks. Mr. Muhammad Speaks. And in this column, it was like, imagine a column in the LA Times or the New Orleans Picayune or the Atlanta Journal-Constitution or whatever, where every week the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad went over the same things that you find in Message to the Black Man. And I read something in the word choice. Always pay attention when a wise man is talking. Pay attention to their word choice, because they don't speak idle words. And he had a word choice in one of these columns that didn't just catch my eye, it caught my brain. Let me show you. This is from the book, first of all, The Invincible Truth. You can go to researchminister.com. researchminister.com and order this book. It is a must read. Listen, if you like Message to the Black Man, you know, if that's an interesting book to you, or if you love it, then you need this book, part 1 and 2. The first one deals with the Pittsburgh Courier, the Mr. Muhammad Speaks. The second one deals with his column in the New Amsterdam News. But you need to get this. It's almost like a prequel to Message to the Black Man, because you see a lot of the same elements of Message to the Black Man, but this is like the prequel. This is like the origin story, you know, like they say in Hollywood. Make sure you get this book. But in this book, I want you to pay attention to something. Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, you can see that red arrow is pointing at the key words. He said the birth of Jesus out of wedlock was a sign of the spiritual birth of the lost found so-called Negroes in North America, who are out of their own people and country. And he said in parentheses, out of the wedlock of unity, living and mixing their blood with their real enemies, the devils without knowledge. The wedlock of unity. That right there shook me to my core. And it shook me to my core because I never saw the process of unity in the same light as marriage or any committed relationship. It said the wedlock of unity. You hear black people say it all the time. Man, we ain't gonna never come together. Man, we ain't gonna never have no unity. Man, we ain't gonna. And I also mentioned on our last episode that there is a, like we have what the Muslims believe in the final call. The Black Lives Matter organization had a what Black Lives Matter believes section on their website. And they blatantly said that they were against the nuclear family. If you're a man and you want to get married to a woman and you want to have children and do everything the old-fashioned way, it ain't even the old-fashioned way, it's the way. Then they're basically saying you're an enemy to them. You're strange. You're a weirdo. If you ain't trying to marry a same-sex transgender or a dog or a cat or a child or something, then you played out. You old school. And then look at the wedge that the enemy is constantly and secretly and covertly throwing between the black man and the black woman. Because that's the difference between now and prior to 75 or the 50s and the 60s. That black pride movement was undergirded by solid families and solid marriages, not perfect marriages, solid marriages. Now we don't even know what marriage is. A lot of us are not even interested in wedlock. So therefore, we're not committed to anything because we didn't see a whole lot of commitment at home. So now it's hard for us to be committed to anything. We start things and we never finish it. We don't, we have little blips of unity, little blips of success. And then something, catches our attention. We got a low attention span when it comes to our salvation. So the wedlock of unity, that got my mind going. So I said, wow, how similar is the process of wedlock to the process of unity? So what I did is I actually looked over some of the things that I've learned in the 3 years that I've been married, the things that I've learned under the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and things that I've learned directly from my big brother and mentor, our Western Regional Student Minister, Abdul Malik Saeed Muhammad, who I would have to also call him, when I say he's my mentor, I don't mean as a student minister, just as anything like that. I mean as a man. That's my big brother. He's my mentor as a growing man, and he's taught me a lot specifically when it comes to marriage, because he's been through it all. He done seen it all. Been married, he been with his wife for close to 30 years, I believe. A little over 25 years they've been married. And they've seen almost everything, almost every up, every down. So I got to thinking, what are the actual similarities between the wedlock of black unity and the wedlock in our actual marriage? So I kind of quizzed myself and went through some of the highlighted things that I've learned since I've been married. And I found out that it was a direct, congruent correlation. Let's get into it. Shout out to everybody chiming in. Hit us up with your questions and comments. But we about to get out of here. So I came up with the 7 points of unity wedlock, using what I'm learning and have learned when it comes to the most common form of wedlock, which is marriage wedlock. And this is inspired by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, where he used that terminology, the wedlock of unity. The 7 points of unity wedlock. First of all, in order for any relationship, and especially marriage, to work, there must be communication. Discuss your differences with each other. Don't speak, in emotion, huffs and puffs and silent treatment and all of that. I'm guilty of some of that, and we're definitely guilty on that as a people on a unity standpoint. Drive down the street, you a Muslim, you see the Hebrew Israelites, man. I ain't saying nothing to them. Shout out to our brother Ben. He did a video not too long ago, I think last week, where he saw some Hebrew Israelites in Dallas, and he stopped and talked to them. We need to have communication. Discuss your differences. Discuss them. Talk it out. Focus on not just your differences, focus on your similarities. Let that be the undergirding. Let that be the strength of your unity, of your wedlock. Discuss your differences. Wouldn't y'all agree that should be something in any kind of wedlock, whether it's marriage wedlock or unity wedlock? Discuss your differences. Let me think of another one. Now, whatever differences we may have, let's keep issues in the family. You don't go around, and when it comes to marriage, you don't go around telling everybody your problems. Even if you get separated, if somebody just happens to ask, sister, where's your husband? Well, we separated at that time. If you ain't got to tell them that. You ain't got to tell them nothing. He where he is, I'm where I'm at. She where she is, I'm where I'm at. But when it comes to black unity, we got to take on that same energy. We got to keep issues in the family. One of the most profound things that my brother and Western Regional Student Minister Abdul Malik Saeed taught us as believers and in our own counseling sessions, don't take your problems to somebody that can't fix it. Why do we constantly want to tell people what's going on in our house? Remember, we talking about black unity. Why do we want to air out our dirty laundry with people that can't clean that laundry? People who don't even desire to clean that laundry. Remember, misery loves company. They love to see your dirty laundry. This world of white supremacy loves to see two black people going at each other's neck. They love to see somebody like D.L. Hughley tell another accomplished black man, accomplished businessman without a degree, accomplished family man who has done, insurmountable things, and tell him you not qualified. You just a nigga. You just a rapper. Stay in your place, boy. They love to see stuff like that. So keep your issues in the family and only take your issues to a third party that can actually help your issues and has a desire to help. Everybody that every shoulder that you can cry on is not there to help. So we are crying to MSNBC and Fox News and Facebook and Twitter, bringing them into our family business. There's plenty of white boys and white girls on black Twitter. And they sitting back just laughing at us, not even being able to agree on the color of the sky or the color of the grass. Boy, I tell you. So that's number 2. Remember, we talking about unity wedlock, the wedlock of unity, inspired by the words of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Number 3, this is a heavy one. Support one another. Listen. A husband and a wife, they got to support what each other are doing. You got to be their number one fan of what they're doing. You got to really want to see them succeed. And if you see them heading down a road in what they're doing that may not be the right way to go, then you deal with them in the strictest of privacy and you do it out of love. Speak straight words, but do it out of love. But support each other. Support don't always mean rooting for them and being a yes man or yes woman. Sometimes support is like, oh man, I really saw, brother Ice Cube. I saw that contract with Black America, brother. Man, it's about time somebody put something down. However, let me talk to you about number 8. Let me talk to you about number 12. Let me talk to you about this and this right here. I don't know about that, brother. We kind of tried that before, and whoop-de-whoop and whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. Support. That's support too. That's support too. We got to support each other. We got to support each other's causes, each other's initiatives. That's why I say that the Million Man March was the crowning event of black unity, because it laid down the code. Everything that I'm going over right now was accomplished in the Million Man March. Number 4, focus or associate with other married people. This is another cold piece of advice that I got from my brother, Western Regional Student Minister Abdul Malik Saeed Muhammad. From the marriage standpoint, it's really toxic and really dangerous when you're married and the people that you hang around the most are not. Especially if you don't have a strong enough influence or personality to really push your lifestyle on them. It's really, you're not that strong. If you got 4 or 5 friends that you always hanging with and they all single, and you the only one married, that's 4 on 1. They little single life. First of all, they gonna make their single lifestyle seem fair seeming. So you gotta be with people, around people, and focus on people that are married like you, or at least people who want to get married like you. Focus on them, kick it with them. Now, on the black unity standpoint, that means we gotta pay attention to other races and other communities that are already married to their unity, that already have a solid wedlock. Pay attention to our Asian family. Don't get mad at them. Don't mock them. And don't look at them in the same light as the Caucasian. Well, some of them are racist. Yeah, some black people are racist. What? Now what? Pay attention to the fact that they don't picket. You know, the only time I ever saw Asians picket, the only time I saw Asians picket was after one of our best shows of unity here in Los Angeles. After the Rodney King verdict, there was an uprising here in Los Angeles that's known as the 1992 riots. And in those 1992 riots, all non-black owned businesses that were in or around South Central Los Angeles was tore up. And there wasn't no hijacking back then. There wasn't no Antifa and little white girls and, you know, and rainbow flags flying around, man. It was football and them pulling people out their trucks, pulling white folk, man, busting windows. And, you know, if it wasn't a black owned business, they tore it down, burned it down. So there were some Asians. First, what they did, they went and grabbed their guns and they held posts in Koreatown. But then after that, there were protests where certain Asians were basically protesting to black people, saying, please, you know, let's unify. We in this together. You see what happens when we unify? We even bring about a sense of unity in other people. So let's make sure we paying attention to how our Asian brothers and sisters don't give a damn about the election or any election. How they got a Chinatown and a Koreatown in every little city, not just the big, not just the New Yorks and the LAs. No, you go to Tulsa, Oklahoma, they got a little Asian town in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Got it in Dallas, got it in Oklahoma City, got it in Little Rock. Everywhere they go, they come together. They're not pushed together by way of, you know, gentrification and Section 8. No, they come together. Pay attention to other nations outside of America and how they work together. Look at what Brother Gaddafi did with his people before he was infiltrated. Look at certain African nations. You know, look at our brother Malema over in South Africa and what he's doing. Pay attention to other, you know, liberated people throughout the earth, you know, that are married to their unity. Married to their unity. We like to pay attention to other single communities who are also trying to, you know, live off of the teat of Western civilization and off of this white man. Leave them alone. Leave them alone. Stop even worrying about what's going on in Europe. That ain't for you. That ain't for you. Those are the single nations. They just want to be like America and Great Britain. So what we got next? All praises due to Allah. Everybody chiming in. Make sure you hit us up with your questions and comments. Sister Ina X says, yes, sir. They like seeing us at each other. Absolutely. Absolutely. They love it. That's how they know they still run us. Let me say that again. When white supremacy gets on your timeline or turns on the TV and they see us dragging each other, not just disagreeing. We got a right to have a disagreement out of respect. Pay attention to how the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan deals with his black detractors. First of all, he does everything in his power not to use names. There was a Washington Post writer that did the minister and Jesse Jackson dirty. And the minister handled himself pretty well with that situation. He could have called him all kind of coons and all of that, but he dealt with them pretty well. Pay attention to how the best of us handle those kind of situations. So let's go to the next one. Now, of course, in any relationship, particularly a marriage, particularly wedlock, don't cheat. Now, what is cheating when it comes to unity wedlock? Cheating when it comes to unity wedlock, like I said earlier, we in love with a system that's not ours. You know what has to, I haven't had to deal with it by the grace of Allah. My wife is very loyal and I'm loyal to her. But when I was playing the girlfriend-boyfriend game before I was married and before I was in the nation, the worst part of cheating or being cheated on? It's not so much that, okay, you went and did this with this woman or she went and did this with this guy. It's the fact that when you really get into a serious relationship, you start to see all sides of that person and you learn to love it. You see him when they don't have all the makeup on. You see him when he don't have a haircut. You smell their funky breath in the morning. Y'all working together to pay the bills. Where he should be the one paying all the bills. But, a lot of relationships these days on that 50-50 stuff. But, she's doing her part in the household. She's the first teacher of the child. It's all this sacrifice and work and sacrifice. And then when the sister finds out that this dude is spending his nights, spending his little bit of free time with some other heifer, that's what stings, because the woman he got at home is the one that's taking care of home. Is the one smelling his funky breath in the morning. But you spending your free time with somebody else. Don't cheat. Don't cheat economically. Don't cheat politically. Stop giving so much of a damn about Joe Biden or Donald Trump. Ain't neither one of them for you. We cheating with our own black code with a white code. Stop thinking that your black life is determined by who the 46th president of the United States is going to be. Or if there's even going to be a 46th president. I really don't care. I really don't care. I'm not cheating on my people. I ain't. You know how they say you can emotionally cheat and physically cheat? A lot of us are emotionally and financially cheating on our own people by being so damn worried about Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, Trump, Biden. Ain't neither one of them good for you. Both of them are thoughts. Both of them are jump offs, side pieces. Leave them alone. Like my brother, Stupid Abdul Malik Saeed Muhammad said today, he said, we could call you a sellout for hanging out with Democrats all these years while they treating you like a side chick, like a side piece. And we out here spending all our time with this side chick, this side piece. Joe Biden is a side piece, or an ugly one at that. Donald Trump is a side piece, an ugly one at that. There's some sisters out there that can bear me witness right now. Some of y'all done seen the sister that your man cheated on you with. And that's like salt on the wound, ain't it? When she walking around here looking like something off Lord of the Rings and you look better than her. There's some brothers in that same situation where they done been cheated on and some little raggedy dude look like a villain on He-Man or something. And don't have nothing going on for him. Brother don't even have a car. He caught the bus to the hotel. And that's what it's like right now, is that we have brilliant black minds. Watch CNN. Watch CNN. Watch MSNBC. We got beautiful black minds, and they wasting all their energy. Brothers like Don Lemon, wasting all their energy and all their passion on this devil. You cheating. You cheating. You cheating. We got a couple more. This is another thing they tell you about marriage and wedlock. If you have children, don't argue in front of the children. Respect the household. Respect the sanctity of the household. Don't argue in front of the children. Now, when it comes to black unity, the equivalent here is not only actual young people, because I'm going to tell you, black folks, I touched on this on a previous episode. Our children are watching us. Like there was a video of Roland Martin crying because the voting lines were long. And he felt like, oh, this is our salvation. This is what I always dreamed of. Long voting lines to pick the next slave master, the 46th slave master of the United States of America. See, our children are watching us act a damn fool like that. They're watching us put all of our energy and all of our passion in picking a slave master, arguing with each other, cutting people off, stop not even talking to certain people no more because they picked the wrong slave master in your mind. Our children are watching that. And for some of the children, it's making them completely cut us off in their mind. It's a lot of young people that just don't respect adults. Not because of some kind of teenage angst kind of thing. No, because they see us doing dumb stuff and then trying to justify it. But they have enough sense to see that it's dumb. So therefore, we can't tell them nothing else. Oh, you need to dress like this. You need to talk like that. You need to go get this kind of education. You need to go. We could go and follow that up with telling them all the right things. But they just seen us do all this. They seen us cry at a polling precinct. They saw that. They saw you arguing with their auntie or their uncle about political stuff. They saw you doing this dumb stuff. And now you want to tell them how to dress. Now you want to tell them how to talk. No, they ain't checking for you. They ain't checking for you. So don't argue in front of the children. That's the worst part. What D.L. Hughley did is that children are why young black people are watching this. But then when two rappers beef with each other, disrespect each other, or when a rapper disrespects themselves, like a Cardi B, we want to get mad at them. But look at the so-called intellectuals are doing. That's worse than Cardi B. That's worse than Megan, the male horse. That's worse than that, because I don't know what their background is. I don't know who taught them. But when you grandstanding every day like you some type of political expert or some type of intellectual, and you doing something as dumb as putting your family business out on the street, that's arguing in front of the children. And then another way that it's like children, and this is for those of us on the religious side of things, or organizational or philosophical side of things. You know, we all trying to reach the people, or should be. If you got some kind of religious belief or ideological belief, and you ain't trying to go out and teach that belief to the people, then you just BSing. But in the Nation of Islam, we call them the lost found. We call them the 85%ers. They're always watching how we operate. Whether they come to the mosque, whether they go to your church, whether they join your group, whatever, they always watching. Even if they stonewall you every time you come to them with your belief system, they still watching you because they want to see if you are living that life. So don't argue. Don't be so quick to argue, especially in the worst manner, in front of the children. And last but not least, and we're going to close out with this one. This is something that you always hear when you get married. Put God first. Put God first. Where is God in the code? See, they didn't took God out of the code. I don't care what you call him. Yahweh, Allah, God, Wallah, whatever you want to call him. I don't care what you call him. Where's God in the situation? And here's the danger of falling for that okey doke of taking God out And you say because, oh, I ain't into religion like that. No, you just don't want discipline. You don't want somebody to tell you to not live the life that the white man taught you how to live. You so in love with the life that he gave you, his definition of freedom, that you are in a situation now where, you know, you use the deceptive intelligence of, oh, I'm not into religion because I read the Bible and this part contradicted with other. You see contradictions everywhere you go. There's contradictions in the club. There's contradictions in the liquor store. That don't stop you from buying that 50 Henny. There's contradictions in the club. Why that bottle costs $500 when it costs $80 at a liquor store? But you still buy that bottle so that sister can walk across the club with the sparklers coming out of it. Listen, I didn't fall off the mother plane. That was a life I lived before coming into the nation. There's contradictions in every world. But see, here's the worst part about not having God in any of your movements and what you do and what you say you believe. When you don't have God, the God, then that vacuum, that void gets filled by a God. I'm going to say that again. If your platform does not have the God, that void will be filled by a God. And the reason why we scratching at each other's necks and disrespecting some of our most brilliant minds and our most brave minds like Ice Cube is because there's a God sitting in the position in our mind where the God should be. And that's the white man. You arguing over your God. And I'm going to leave you with this, because I don't like to just tell you stuff and then not back it up. I'm going to give you some homework. If you don't believe me, I want you to do two things. Pick up the phone after you watch this. Pick up the phone and call one of the matriarchs of your family, grandma, whatever, an old auntie that you know is deep in the church and love them some Jesus and all of that. Pick up the phone and call them and say, TT or grandma, you know what? I think Jesus is some BS. And I think you wasting your time going to church every week, giving all your money to tithes. I think it's some BS and you need to quit. Now, I want you to read. Don't really do this, family. But some of y'all have done this or y'all seen it be done. Somebody come to the family reunion or to the family cookout and they say something that, you know, that's sacrilegious or whatever. And grandma damn near pass out. She faint. Or they get so passionate in their defense because this white God that they've adopted or this spook God that they've adopted has become their life's passion. And now you telling them that they wasting their life on their life's passion. Now, after you done with that, now go on Facebook or social media and tell some diehard Democrat Negro or a Republican Negro, slave and a barracoon, and tell them that politics in general is a waste of time. You're going to get the exact same passionate response. It's just one is going to be arguing on what they believe is God, and then the other one is going to be arguing on what they believe is God because they think that their salvation can only come out of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in the white man's political system. So with that said, family, I appreciate y'all chiming in. Make sure y'all check out doforself.net. Hit us up at nationtownstore.com. Get you some 100% independent, black-owned, black-distributed products. We might be on Thursday or Friday. And we're going to do the next part of XPOSED, going back to breaking down the science and the 3 steps of separation. So I'm going to go ahead and leave y'all, as I greeted y'all, in the words of peace. We said in that Arabic language. Assalamu alaikum, family. Thank you for your time.
I was told to deliver this message.
The expression, each one teach one? Of course you have. But what if each one teach one was an actual website instead of just an expression of words? Log on to doforself.net and experience the Underground Freeway, which is a free online collection of step-by-step how-to and do-it-yourself subjects ranging from how to quit your day job, repair your credit, investments, alternative currency, and much more. It also features interviews from real people, real professionals with real expertise and information ranging from entrepreneurship, real estate, art, education, physical fitness, the medical field, filmmaking, and much more. Just log on to doforself.net, choose your subject, pick a video, and get it in. Once again, it's 100% free. And not only is Underground Freeway free, but you can also earn rewards every month based on how many subject videos you watch. The subject videos are broken up into 10 to 15 minute step-by-step tutorials, so you can go at your own pace. Each one teach one is no longer just an expression. Now it's a movement. So log on to doforself.net, pull up on the Underground Freeway, and let's get free.